and you're watching FRCD on CAN TV. Family Resource Center on Disabilities is the Region 1 Parent Training and Information Center of Illinois. You can reach us at 312-939-3513 or email us at info@frcd.org. You can visit our website at www.frcd.org or follow us on Twitter at FRCDPTI. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube page at FRCD1231 and like us on Facebook. Family Resource Center on Disabilities is not a law firm or a legal service agency. Family Resource Center on Disabilities will not provide any type of services that may be construed as practicing law, including but not limited to giving legal advice, drafting legal documents, or representing families in any type of legal proceeding. Hi, and my name is Paula Wills, and you're watching FRCD on CAN TV, where we discuss special education, parent advocacy, and resources for families of children with disabilities. And today, I'm talking about the evaluation process as it pertains to special education. Often we get phone calls at Family Resource Center on Disabilities with parents concerned about their child's performance in school. Sometimes it's behavior, sometimes it's grades, sometimes it's a combination of both. So often parents, I don't want to use the word complain, but yeah, they do. They complain that they have been asking their child's teacher, asking their child's case manager or principal, saying, hey, I think my child might need some help. Can we get an evaluation or get special education services? We'd like to explore that. And sometimes parents get pushback, or a common response that parents may hear is, let's give it some time. Well, as you know, children grow fast, time flies by. So a year or so and your child is behind, that could make a huge difference as they grow older and the education gap continues to widen. So what we want to do is I want to talk about the appropriate approach to gaining an evaluation for your child for special education services. So first thing, let's talk about what is an evaluation, or at least what do we mean when we say evaluation in special education. Evaluation is defined as regulations, as procedures used to determine whether a child has a disability and the nature and the extent of the special education related services that the child needs. So one of the things I also want to point out about the evaluation process is where you can also learn more about this information. So when we're talking about the evaluation process and basically just finding out, where is my child at currently? Are they with their peers, their general education peers? Do they need additional help? Is there a disability there? So yeah, I should also point out that when we're talking about special education services, it's a little bit more than my child is having problems with their math homework. Sometimes what we're talking about is we're searching for a possible disability, such as a learning disability, or is it actually a number? Is there autism, developmental disability? Anything that is hindering the child from achieving their academic success. So, or as we often say, adversely affecting their education. So, moving on, I want to also point out some additional resources when we start talking about the special education process on our website at Family Resource Center on Disabilities. So, if you go to our resource page, we have a lot of information basically talking about disability laws. In this particular book, The Educational Rights and Responsibilities, Understanding Special Education in Illinois, this book is a gem for parents, mainly because It tells you everything you need to know about navigating the special education system in Illinois, and it's put in terms that are, I would say, a lot more digestible for parents or pretty much anyone without having to dig deep into legal jargon. But it does uh, pertain to IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So it's significantly easier to follow than reading IDEA itself. Although I do recommend read the Individuals Disabilities Education Act. That's a mouthful. But anywho, so one of the main things I want to talk about is requesting the evaluation. So one of the first steps you're going to want to do um, is, all right, got a little confused there, but that's okay. One of the first steps you're going to want to do is request that evaluation. So the question begins, how do you do this? I mentioned before that parents often, it's usually a verbal conversation that parents sometimes have when they're requesting for additional help. We always say at the center, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. So, and there's also in IDEA that if you first want to make a request in writing. So, we often say writing a letter to the school district. There's also forms on isb.net where you can complete a form requesting an evaluation for your child. But we always say write a letter discussing why you have these concerns about your child and that you would like to request an evaluation. That at the very least, whether the school decides to confirm or deny that they'll do that evaluation, you have something in writing showing that you're reaching out asking for help. So once you have made the request for the evaluation, the school has 14 school days to formally respond to your request. So what does that mean? So Saturday and Sunday don't count. If there's a holiday, that does not count. So from the time they received your request, 14 days after that, they have to respond within those 14 days. Sometimes we have families that call and say, I put my request in about 4 days ago. They don't have to respond to you until the 14 days have completed. So they may respond before then. Usually some do, but if they don't, there's really, you kind of have to just wait through that time. But the main thing what you want is a response. It doesn't matter if they confirm or deny, you want at least a response. Ideally, you would like for them to confirm. But if they deny in writing, then you can take other measures to try to get that evaluation. So let's just assume that they decided to proceed. So we have step 2, and this is an ideal case. Okay, they decide to proceed with the evaluation. So the timeline does not start until the parent signs a consent form. So you're signing a consent form that they've presented to you, or you're sending a letter to consent for them to perform the evaluation. I should also point out that when you are making this request, you are making this request to the school district. So the key decision makers. So it may not be the teacher, although you can CC the teacher in to let them know that you're requesting additional help. But the ones making the decision, which is generally the school district or the superintendent, those are the ones that are who are going to kind of confirm whether or not this evaluation can be done. So I say, just as protocol, kind of CC everyone from whoever's working with your child to let them know you're making this request. and from there the 14 days start. So once they've decided to proceed, and you have completed the form and consented for this evaluation to be done, the next step, and let me go to the next step, the fourth step, is they have 60 school days, or 60 school days must occur by the 60th day for them to complete that evaluation. So this is kind of tricky because when we're talking about 60 school days, it could be 2 months, but also, again, it's school days. So no Saturday or Sunday, no holidays. I believe summer break is questionable. Some people go to school, some don't. So most likely there's not going to be a whole lot during the summer. So keep that in mind when you are making your request, that 60 school days could actually be a lot longer for them to complete that evaluation, but it has to be completed by the 60th school day. So next we're moving on to step 5. Eligibility Conference and IEP. So this is where, let's just say, everything is going well, okay, or yeah, everything is going as planned. Okay, we've completed the evaluation and these are our findings. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to attend a meeting to discuss placement, whether they found, first of all, whether they found that your child is eligible for an IEP. So does your child have a disability that's adversely affecting their education? So that's going to be one of the first things that they're going to look at, or that's the main purpose of the meeting. And then you're also going to discuss if your child is found eligible for special education services. They're going to discuss things like their present level, where they're at now, the types of gaps that they're trying to fill, the types of services and accommodations that will be made, the placement. So what type of classroom setting your child will be in? Is it going to be a gen ed class where they're bringing teachers in? Or is it going to be partial gen ed class, or a general education class, or a special education class where you're partially there? You may leave the general education environment for a while and get additional help outside the classroom. Are you going to be in a special education classroom most of the day? Then it works. Will it be a special education school? Or in some cases, are there homebound services because the child cannot attend a classroom? That's actually a whole other show when we talk about least restrictive environment. But today we're talking about evaluation. But these are the types of conversations you will be having at this first meeting. Often at the center we get calls from parents calls from parents who are concerned about this meeting. They're worried that their child may not get the types of services that they think their child needs, or they don't know what to expect. Some parents don't necessarily want their child to have, may not want their child to receive special education services because they may not fully understand the purpose of these services. So we often encourage, call us, because we can definitely talk you through and explain what these services mean and what these findings mean. But we often tell parents, just go to the meeting and see what they say. At the very least, you can deny services. If you disagree with the findings, there's other measures that you can take that we will get to a little later. But at this point, we are at step 5, and we've just completed the domain meeting. So then we go to step 6, where we talk about consent to placement. So let's say everything has gone well. You agree with the findings, in the ideal setting, you agree with the findings. Okay, let's get the ball rolling. The next step is the parent needs to consent to the placement or any of But actually, that is actually the main thing, and the IEP that your child may be receiving. So moving in from there, I want to go back and I want to talk a little bit more about when we're the evaluation itself. So again, we get calls from the center because parents or friends of the family are worried. So what is this evaluation? What is this evaluation? So one of the things that we often tell parents is that one of the things you want to focus on when you're dealing with the evaluation process, or you want to know, is what are your rights, and what are some things that you want to know during that process. So I always say, with the evaluation, what must happen is that one of the things that must happen with an evaluation is it must be comprehensive. So when I say comprehensive, that means we're talking about a number of. So we're not just talking about, okay, I'm just going to evaluate for developmental, or I'm just going to evaluate for academic. It should be evaluating everything, so that your child has the correct label to receive the appropriate services. That's another word we like to use a lot at Family Resource Center on Disabilities. Appropriate. Because in IDEA, the school does not have to provide you with the best. They have to provide you with what's appropriate. So again, we say the comprehensive evaluation. So in fact, I want to go back 2 slides and to that website. If it'll come back for me or not. It did work once before. Well, that's okay. I won't worry about it. Oh, wait a minute, maybe it's here. Hello. Okay, excellent. So one chapter that we had we call it the Blue Book at Family Resource Center on Disabilities. But one chapter that, if you want to learn more about the evaluation process, I highly recommend the referral and evaluation chapter. That's page 3. I mean, I don't recommend it. That's really the chapter that you need to read. Let's see if it actually lets me go there. It gave me a warning sign. All right, so maybe it may not let me go there. All right, no worries. So here's the thing. I would say just go to chapter 3 of the Blue Book, also known as the Parent Guide. In there, it talks about some of the things that you should expect when your child is undergoing the evaluation process. So, moving on to one of the next must-haves for an evaluation. One thing you want to make sure the evaluation is discriminatory or racial or culturally biased. I have basis, but it should be biased. So, and I'll just go through the whole list. The evaluation must be administered in the child's native language or other mode of communication. The evaluation must accurately reflect the child's aptitude or achievement level, or whatever other factors the test purports to measure. So, and not just reflect the child's impaired skills. So that one's kind of important. So one of the examples we like to give at FRCD is when we talk about how an evaluation looks. So let's say a child has a visual impairment, a significant visual impairment, and we're testing for comprehension. You wouldn't hand a child a picture book if the child is blind or significantly visual impaired to test their comprehension. Simply because it's not fair. They can't see what they're looking at. So you would have to use another means of testing their comprehension, but it should not be a picture book. Now, if you're testing their vision, then yes, a picture book would be appropriate. But if you're testing their comprehension, how well they understand information, then a picture book is highly inappropriate. So it's those types of things that you want to kind of be aware of when your child is being evaluated. And again, make sure that at least that first evaluation is comprehensive. So, and sometimes you may not be there, but when you receive the evaluation, you can look over and see what was measured. We actually do a full training on evaluations at Family Resource Center on Disabilities, where we kind of get in a little bit as to some of what could be on the evaluation and what they may be looking at, depending on what your child is being evaluated for. So, moving forward, I also want to quickly talk about eligibility. So I mentioned earlier that the types of disabilities that the school system might be looking for you to be eligible for an IEP. And these are the disabilities that actually fall under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So as you can see, they have like about at least 14. So it's not just about a diagnosis from your doctor. These are basically what the school is looking at. So I'm not necessarily going to go through all of them, but as you can see, you have deaf blindness, cognitive disability, autism, multiple disabilities, emotional disability, developmental delay, hearing impairment. So there's 14 of them, 14 labels altogether. And to receive special education services, your child needs to fall under one of them. So another thing I want to talk about quickly is, let's say your child, you disagree with the findings. You've gotten the evaluation back. You don't believe that your child has, autism. You don't believe that that's the appropriate label. So you want to request another an independent evaluation. So that's one thing I should also point out. The evaluations that we're talking about is done by the school system, the school district. So the school district is calling in their own evaluators. The type of evaluation that I'm about to talk about now is called an independent evaluation. And I will put up the definition up here. So when we talk about evaluations or reevaluations, these are done at the parent's request. Parents have a right to request an independent evaluation at public expense if they agree with the results of the school's evaluation. So key word there, they have the right to request. Does the school have to provide that reevaluation? No. If the school may feel that, well, we think our evaluation is fine. Well, in that case, and I hate to rush through this, but in that case, this could lead to other conflict resolution matters such as possibly due process, or I would say, yeah, it's possible that matter could go to due process. But I will say you do have a right to request an evaluation at public expense. Parents can also do their own evaluation, but I should also warn you that if you do your own evaluation, the school only has to consider it. They do not have to follow it. So those are a few. I probably will continue this show again, but as we're winding down to our last 10 seconds, I want to thank you all for joining me this lovely Monday evening, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and hopefully next time we will continue our discussion on the evaluation process. Thank you.